Hey guys, I'm back for another video today. Sorry I haven't made one in a while. Gonna do a little bit of shooting today. Now there's a few items obviously that you're gonna need. You're obviously gonna need your bow. Get yourself a nice trusty bow. If you're new to archery, go to your nearest archery store and they will help you out with your first purchase. Now, obviously, you want to try out different bows if possible. You don't want to just buy one or be pressured. Most of them, they're pretty nice. They won't pressure you into buying a bow if you're not really sure. Now, here's a piece of advice for you guys. If you're going to buy a bow, make sure that you aren't pressured into too high of a draw weight. A lot of people are strong, so they obviously think that they can just pull back a bow, right? But you're using different muscles than you would working out or doing other kinds of, exercises. So those are a couple things that I would say, and also make sure when you do get a bow, you get the right spined arrows. Now, my draw length is about 31 inches, so I got super long arms, right? Super long arms. So, and with this bow, in particular, it's a Razorback, very simple bow. A lot of people think that you have to continue to keep upgrading bows and doing all this extra stuff. You don't really need to. I've seen like this one guy, he had the nicest bow. I don't know what kind of bow it was. It looked like something from like Hawkeye. He had some really nice, it was just super tricked out, but he couldn't shoot worth his life. I was a much better shot with him, and I only spent like what, $100, $100 and something dollars on this bow right here. I don't quite remember. It's a takedown bow, which means it's got a couple limbs on here as well. You can also get yourself one of these. Now, I recommend, highly recommend, it's a snake recurve, Roland snake recurve bow. Highly recommend this bow. It's a very light weight bow. It's 22 pounds of pressure. So to pull back, it's only like, 22 pounds or so. Now, for me, when I pull all the way back, because my arms are so long, it goes out to like 26 pounds of pressure, right? So I highly recommend this bow right here. If you want to shoot, like say you and a friend or whatever, you guys want to do some casual shooting, highly recommend it. And the reason why I recommend the snake recurve bow is because it's got two shelves. See, you can put your bow on, your arrow on either side of the shelf, whether you're left-handed or right-handed. Me, I'm naturally left-handed, so therefore the arrow goes right here. My wife, it'd be like right here, and the arrow will be on this side of the shelf, naturally speaking. So I highly recommend this one. It's very simple training bow. I spent like $50 on this thing. It's super awesome up until kind of late. It started kind of acting a little funny. But my main bow is Razorback. I got a couple of little silencer, I call them silencers, silencers on my strings to make it quieter as well. I forgot, actually, in my car, I should have brought it, it looks like chapstick. It's a little vial of wax. All right, so it's called Titan Wax, which that's just the company that I'm using. There's other companies you can get out there. But you need this thing of wax right here to wax your string, right? So you got to maintain your string or it'll start fraying and falling apart. So you want to also make sure you have that as well. And then last but not least, one of the most important items you want to get, Rangefinder. Now, I got one of the cheap ones from Walmart because I'm not a rifle shooter. I mean, I served in the Army, but get yourself a cheap, I got myself an XL 450 Halo Rangefinder. It works very well. You can actually, I saw this guy the other day, he was literally He had like measuring tape. I don't know why he had measuring tape, but he had measuring tape to try to measure distances, and he was a rifle shooter. So I'm like, why don't you have a rangefinder? Rangefinder is so much easier. All you do is you target on there, hit the button on top. I'm like not that far out, right? Not that far out. Let's see. Whoop. 12 yards out. So I'm about 12 yards away from my intended target. Hopefully you guys can kind of sort of see it over there. Yeah. About 12 yards away. So I don't have to sit there and try to measure or do this little foot walking thing, whatever. I mean, you can do that. But I highly recommend a laser rangefinder. It's much, much easier for you as well, right? So these are a couple simple things that you need. Once again, going back to now for the arrows, I have the Fleetwood. Now this is just for my particular bow. Not everybody has the exact same thing. Everybody has a different setup. One thing you're going to learn in archery is nobody has the same setup. Everybody's different. This is a 500 Fleetwood Legion. It's a 6.49 GPI, which is grains per inch. We can go to that into another video, but also have a 6.5 tip as well, because my arrows were literally, like I said, everybody's different, but my arrows were like wobbling, and then when they would hit, even at 10 yards, they would kind of skid and hit the target, stick in somewhat accurately, but they wouldn't, I don't know, they would just kind of slide around. Now with this heavier tips, it goes straight towards the target. So you need, once again, you need your own custom. Everybody is customized. Don't think that you're the exact same as your wife or whoever. Everybody is different. Now I have a couple other styles of arrows as well. These aren't as great. In fact, fletchings on the back of this thing are, I got to get this replaced here. So I'll toss that one off to the side for now. Yeah, so you want to make sure that you are comfortable in your setup. You want to make sure everything works for you. Like I said, go to your nearest shop, talk to people, and they will help you. They will literally help you find what you need to do, right? To purchase, you know, for your arrows. Now you can get carbon or wood. You know, you can get whatever you want, but just know that with wood, it's affected, like the temperature and the weather affects your bow. Actually will affect your bow and your arrows the same. Well, not the same, but they're both gonna be affected more than carbon. So you want to make sure that you're comfortable with your setup, right? These are some of the most important key things. Once again, you want to have the correct arrows, the correct length of the arrows as well, because you know your draw length, you want to be able to pull that thing back, right? You want to be able to pull that thing back. If it's too short, it's not going to clear it, right? Or if you have the wrong spine, your arrow could explode. Your bow's going to do some weird stuff, right? So you want to make sure that you get help. You don't just go out and buy a bow and arrows, random arrows. You want to make sure that you actually purchase the correct equipment as well. Now, when I always go out shooting in the field, I always make sure a few things. So this has nothing really to do with archery, but there's always a few things, because I'm always out in the middle of nowhere by myself. So I always have to make sure that I'm safe. I always have a first aid kit on me. So yeah, I'll show you guys my first aid kit. I have just a cheap first aid kit. Nothing sexy, but it's got everything in there if necessary. I also have a tourniquet in my front as well. I always make sure, let's see here. Jump pack for my vehicle, just in case, you know, I put all my stuff up, I'm done shooting for the day, and the vehicle, something's going on with the battery, something weird. So I always make sure that I have a jump pack, right? Jump pack on me. Now this is more, my style of archery is much more unconventional than everybody else that I know. I'm just a weirdo, I guess. But I'm just different, right? I'm different. So some people think that you need to go to the range. You got to go to an archery range, right? To shoot. Me, nah. Now, when I first started shooting, when I first started shooting, I did actually go to the range to learn. Like somebody came out there for like 2 minutes or so and was like, you kind of hold like this and then you kind of figure out from there. And it was just all just, you know, it was kind of weird and I didn't understand. I thought that everybody did the same thing. Well, not everybody does the same thing. So I had to figure out my own methods of shooting, and I went through so many different styles of shooting as well. I'll use this old arrow that needs to get the fletchings replaced. But I went through so many different styles of shooting. A lot of you guys who are just beginning are going to be like, hey man, I'm trying to figure out this, I'm trying to figure out that, I'm not really understanding. You're going to figure it out. I guarantee if I can figure it out, you definitely can figure it out. So I went through different methods of shooting. Some people talk about in their videos. I mean, I went through everything, guys. I went through, and I'll show you kind of some of the stuff that I did when I first started shooting. I'm not going to release the arrow, don't worry. And not safe, or well, there's nobody out here. I'm the only person out here. There's nobody else out here. So, one thing, actually, I want to tell you guys another thing, right? So, let's do a teaching moment. So, I don't ever really lay my bow on the ground. But you want to always check before you put your arrow on the string and nock it, and you want to make sure nothing's cracked on here. So this arrow right here is pretty old, worn out. Look, some of the stuff starting to fall off there, the feather, or well, I call them fletchings, but it's starting to fall off, right? There's one that actually fell off, so there should be 3 on here, right? And then right here, I don't think you guys can see it, but right here, there is a crack. So a bit of a crack on there. So this arrow isn't great. So you always want to make sure you check your arrows before you release them, because it's got a crack in your arrow and you pull that thing back and you release it, that pressure is probably going to make it explode. So you want to make sure that you check all your stuff, right? You want to check your bow as well. When I go down to the range and I'm getting ready to shoot for the first time, now you don't ever dry fire. Make sure you never, ever dry fire, which means pulling it back and then letting it go. Now, if I were to do this right here to make sure, it's good, no cracking or creaking, then that's okay. I don't really highly recommend it, but I do more or less this, right? So you want to check on those basic things, right? So when I first started shooting, this arrow's all messed up. But when I first started shooting, I was trying everything, man. I tried everything. I did 3 under because I was like, oh, that seems like pretty easy, So 3 under, and I had my nose, trying to make sure my arm, everything was straight, right? I tried so many different methods of shooting. We're actually going to use the training bow because it's a little easier to hold back for training purposes. I'm not going to release the arrow, don't worry. You always want to make sure you also practice safety. Now, what I'm doing right now, like I said, there's nobody out here. I'm the only person out here for miles. Nobody, right? So you always want to make sure you practice safety so that when you do go to a range or you start shooting competitively or doing something, right, you'll know exactly what you're doing. You won't you won't hurt anybody else. You won't hurt yourself, right? Start practicing good form, good technique. Now you have to learn different techniques, right? So I was trying 3 under, right? I was trying obviously split finger as well. You want to make sure everything is straight, feet. Everybody has their own different method of shooting, right? There's so many different things out there. Now, someone actually had mentioned on the channel, Gary Chine. Now, Gary Chine, I actually know about the guy, Gary Chine. This is actually how I learned my method of shooting, which I don't see anybody else ever really practicing. At least when I go to the range and I see traditional archers, is Just like that. So here, like this, I guess you could do it that way, but the tip is so low for me, it's just kind of awkward. I want that arrow right underneath my eye. So what I like to do, once again, I showed you guys in previous videos, is I pull that bad boy right back, right underneath my eye, right? Move my back arm. You don't want to be doing all this craziness, because you're just going to be like flinging arrows everywhere. You're not going to be, you might be a little accurate, but you're not going to be precise. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about accuracy versus precision, or both. So accuracy means I can hit that target right there. I can hit the target right there. But I don't really know how I'm doing it. That's accuracy. Accuracy means I can hit the target. I can hit the target, 10 times out of 10. Now, this is what separates the intermediate experts from straight beginners. Beginners are going to be able to pretty quickly. You can hit the target pretty quickly. You can learn how to hit the target accurately, right? Now, precision means you're grouping. That's pretty much when you think of precision, because some people are like, what's the difference between accuracy and precision? Aren't they the same thing? Well, no, they're not the same thing. The difference between someone who's accurate is that means they can hit the target. Precision means you can hit a certain spot on the target consistently. So your grouping should be good. Grouping should be good in a certain area. Now, could you be precise without being accurate? Or precise? Yeah, without being accurate. Yes, you can. Which basically means I not only can hit the target, I can hit the top left. All my shots keep hitting the top left part of the target, which means that means I'm precise. I'm lacking a little bit of accuracy. So you have to be able to balance accuracy and precision. And then if you can balance those two, you can hit your target. You should be able to hit wherever on your target you need to hit. So those are some basic things I highly recommend for archery as well. Once again, when you put the arrow on the string, I'm going to show you guys exactly. You want to make sure you knock it. So you hear that little click sound? Here, I'll do it again. That means that it is knocked. If you have it knocked on there, you have it on there partly, then that arrow is going to flop off there, smack you in the face, do something crazy. So you want to make sure that you get it on there. Now, like I said, everybody has their own method of shooting as well. Some people have thumb draws and all kinds of interesting different kinds of draws, right? Me, I like the Mediterranean style. Some people call it split finger. Mediterranean, just like that. See, it's like right underneath my eye. That arrow should release from my eye to exactly where I'm shooting. That's what should happen. Now, there's other factors, and for me, I'm going for people who are shooting vertically, when you're aiming, you're going up and down, right? You're going up and down. That's how you guys aim. For me, how I aim, it would be more or less side to side, right? Side to side. And I shouldn't be, once again, moving the bow very much. I should already be on target and then make slight adjustments, usually with the back of my arm, right? And I use a combination of my memory, and instinct, a little bit of instinct in there, and the tip of the arrow. So since that arrow is right underneath my eye, that tip should be somewhere wherever I want it to go. So that's kind of what I use. It's not for everybody. Everybody has their own method of shooting, but this is my style. This is how I shoot. Once again, you don't have to go to a range. I highly recommend going out by yourself, learning how the basics, YouTube videos, which is what I did. Gary Chine, I subscribed to Gary Chine, to his YouTube channel, and literally I got better over like in an hour. I got like way better in an hour because I was trying all this extra stuff, you know. I was trying what everybody else is doing. Everybody else is, you know, doing this whole thing, which it looks, you know, obviously it looks cooler. You know, everybody else is doing it. I went to my first competition shootout with a bunch of dudes, and I shot very well, by the way. But I had to, I use Gary Chine's method of shooting. Everybody else was straight up and down. So the only drawback to canting your bow, I should have named my YouTube channel the Canted Archer or something like that, right? Because I'm a very rare breed of archer. Everybody else that I know that shoots traditional, up and down, straight up and down, 3-finger, 3-under, or split, usually. Here in the United States, overseas, they're gonna do like more thumb draws, more pinch, you know. But yeah, the only drawback to canning your bow, obviously, is that if you're at the range with a bunch of people, you have to be very aware of where your bow's at. And I don't mean your arrow, your bow, right? Because I'm taking up a lot of space. So when we're on the firing line, right, when we're doing this, I did this competition shootout with these guys. These guys are good, by the way. We're kind of in tight quarters a little bit, so I had to kind of give myself a lot of space because look at the width. The width from this end to this end, that's like 3 people almost. Well, fairly close to 3 people or a couple people. Let's just say a couple people. But everybody else, they can fit in like back to back almost, right? You don't need much space. But with me, that's the only drawback to shooting canted, is I need a lot of space around my bow, or around me and my bow. So that's what I would do. And also too, here's another tip for you guys out there who are like, I can't just, you know, and I'm not perfect, I'm learning myself, but here's another tip for you guys. So when you release, you pull that thing back to wherever your anchor point is. Make sure you have a good anchor point, always in the same spot every single time, right? When you release, this is all you should do. I'm gonna show you guys what you should do. When you're releasing, right, wherever it's at, your anchor spot, wherever it's at, that's all you gotta do. If you can keep that inside your mind, memorize that factor, you'll get way better. But if you're doing this, or this, or this, or that, or even sometimes even going fully back, you're going to affect your accuracy. It's all about consistency. Archery is all about consistency. So when I release, and by the way, I'm not trying to brag on you guys, and I've been shooting for months, several months now. I've only hit my arm one time, and I think it was with this bow, because this bow's freaking, it's a training bow, so it's not a very good advanced bow, and it's not very good for canning. I just recently, it's not been working with me for canning, but is always make sure you guys are doing the same exact thing every single time. Which means if I'm holding my bow like this, right? Next time I'm not gonna be like this, where my arm is touching the string. I always make sure that I'm the same way every single time, right? Every single time. You don't need to buy, I mean, some of you guys will have to buy it because you can't remember what you're doing. But some people need like the arm guards and stuff like that. You don't need it. At least to me, you don't need it. You just gotta make sure, you can even check while you're pulling the bow back, is your arm clear of the string, right? Now with a long bow, you're probably gonna need more of an arm guard because it's gonna probably end up slapping you. But with these simple, I wouldn't say simple, these takedown recurves, you don't really need an arm guard. If you have a good memory, and one of the biggest things about archery is memorization. Know exactly where you're hitting, target, what you're doing wrong, right? And keeping consistency. So when I put that arrow on the string, I should be going, well, eventually you won't have to really think about it. You should be going through the steps of what you need to do to pull back, right? Boom, see? Same spot every single time, right underneath my eye every single time. I don't want to be down here or over here or here, or my arm is weird, crooked. You need to have the same draw every single time. Consistent, boom, boom, like that. Exact way every single time. It's kind of hard to show you guys. By the way, my finger does stick out there because it acts to me like a stabilizer. I know it looks weird. Some people hold their bows little weird different grips. You know, there's different grips. Don't grab your bow too. You don't want to grab it. You want to have a nice loose grip on there. Now for me, naturally my pinky just likes to hang out there. It likes to hang out there. It acts to me like a stabilizer. It's a mental stabilizer, not a bow stabilizer, but mental stabilizer. See my finger out there. Boom. Right, so that's kind of how I do it. I know it's a longer video for you guys, but that's my recommendation when it comes to archery. 101, this is the most basic rudimentary like steps. If you want to get into archery. Archery is super cool, it's super addicting, it's a rabbit hole. You don't, by the way, another thing a lot of people want to do is they want to buy all this extra crap. You don't need a bunch of extra crap. I bought this quiver for like $15 on Amazon. I see some people with the Gucci's quivers and, you know, all this extra stuff, and they're spending so much money. If you suck, none of that stuff's gonna matter. You're gonna look like a fool. So I recommend buying simple, affordable equipment that you don't have to spend a lot of money on, right? I don't think I spent like I haven't spent that much, $400 or $500 total. On pretty much just about everything. 50 for this, 130 for that, 60 or 70 for the, well, it was like 6 arrows. So I have approximately 12 arrows. So I've spent about 120 on arrows. Bought a glove for $12. So I spent around $400 or $500 on pretty much just about everything. And it's served me well. It's served me very well. Just make sure you maintain your equipment, unstring your bows, stuff like that. And you'll do well. So that's all I got for you guys today. Hit that like, subscribe button, continue to check out my content, and I'll talk to you guys later. Love you guys. Peace.